Hello and welcome to the tutorial on how to set up the Dialog Backend. This one covers only the setup on version 1.2. Videos about the individual nodes, setting up the widget, or individual explanations about the decorators will follow in the same playlist. First of all, to install the plugin, head into your Epic Games Launcher, into your library, type in Dialog Backend into the search box, install to engine, select your engine version and click install. Here in your project, this one is the top-down template, you head to Edit, Plugins, search for BDC plugins and enable the Dialog Backend. You may need to restart your editor after that. Dialog Backend itself has some settings. Head to Edit, Project Settings, down to Plugins, and call BDC Dialog Backend Settings. In the top row, you can select the widgets the Dialog uses and a preview widget to be used in the editor itself. In the second row, you can select individual materials you can create yourself for the decorators, wobble, sparkling, glitch, glow and burn. In the third row, you'll find setup for sounds which get called when a dialog is called, updated, continues, close, and option is selected. You can switch the emoji table, the default emoji size, different tables for decorators, multiple text styles, which we'll come to later, curves for the pulse decorator, timing for bubbled widgets, which is NPC talkings, and the player tag, which you should set right now. The fourth row is the global settings. Here you can set up initial global values, like you know which global values you need over the game. You can set them up here to be loaded right at the game start with a default value. Below the global values comes the settings for the editor. Here you can set up the appearance of the editor itself. And at the bottom you can reset all the settings. The Dialog Backend adds a new search box at the top of your editor, which is used to search through all your dialogues globally. We'll come to this later. To create a dialog, head to the content browser, right-click, search for BDC and dialog tree. Name it as you want and open it up. The Dialog Editor is split into multiple windows. It's the graph, the details and some hovers. The details are filled whenever you hit a message node or any other one. Behind here we have the dialog preview, which is filled with the dialog preview widget. We have a search box where you can search locally inside the graph. We have a hotkey hover, which you can expand and collapse to see all hotkeys. And in the top row we have some additional options like the export localization, unlink from localization, check if the dialog tree is fulfilled, like clicking on it states we have no end node here or jumper for this node, and an auto layout option, which to become later on. All hovers can be collapsed so they don't take away too much space, and expanded on demand. To add new nodes to your dialog, you can right-click the graph, open dialog node and select the node you want to add as next. You can link up nodes, like in blueprints, from output to input. You can also add dialog nodes by using the hotkeys, like in this case M and left click is the message node, and an input can also have multiple nodes as input. A special one is the option node, which is O and left click. This has a blue input, like the message has a blue output. And you can only link up blue outputs to the blue inputs. So options are only usable by message nodes. If you made up a mess in your dialog, like a little bit of this one, this is a bit forced, I know, you can hit the auto layout button and it will automatically lay out your dialogues. In the plugin settings, you can define a minimum spacing horizontal between nodes, vertically and horizontally. So if I set this to something bigger, the amount gets bigger here. Auto layouting also calculates the curves of the outputs to not overlap each other. So if you have a message node here, this would overlap. Now it's not. As already mentioned, a dialog always has to end with an end node. Check chains is checking for this. This node has no end, but has outputs. Hit E and left click for an end node. Hook it up. Everything is fine. And the dialog in this case would be usable. The preview widget directly shows your text, and if you select an avatar, it also shows the avatar here to directly show how your text will look like in your UI in your game. Nodes and dialogues also can have names and comments, like the node name here would be start of dialogue, and we can add a def comment, which is then called here on the top on the bottom and shows as tooltip. The name of the node also is important for the starting of a dialogue. I made a little NPC here, which is placed right in front of the player. This NPC simply has a sphere attached with a bigger radius and overlaps pawns. On begin overlap, I check if it's player character, and then I use start dialogue, which is simply the dialog function start dialogue. You can select your dialogue you created, and dialog ID shows you the IDs of your individual nodes, and at the end shows you the start of dialogue, which is the dialogue name, the node name. You can select what type of dialogue should be called. It's a front dialogue, which is a normal RPG dialogue with options. NPC chat would be speech bubbles, and background task dialogue would be subtitles for videos. We want a front dialogue here. We leave the text empty for now. If we hit play, move to the other character, the dialog pops out here. The test widget also shows you what participants are inside of this dialog. When hitting the little button on the bottom right, the dialog continues and is done. You may recognize if I click anywhere while the dialog is opened, the player character still moves, which is not intended. We need to fix this. To do so, the character got an input mapping context added, which holds the default mapping for set destination and set touch. We need to disable this while the dialog is opened. For this, we add a new component, which is the Dialog Backend actor. We give this one the player tag. I set it to tag test. You can add any tag you want. The ID is simply player. You can give it a name if you want. We have multiple events here for the dialog component, which is on dialog started, on dialog finish, and when an event is received, whenever a value changes. We need the dialog started, and we need the on dialog finished. We get the player controller. In this case, I think we can use the default one. Enhance input subsystem of this player controller. Can remove the context, remove mapping context on dialog started, which in this case is the IMC default, and on dialog finish we go for adding the context back in. We now start. I can click and nothing happens. I need to continue the dialog to the end, and then it moves again until I get back into the zone. Okay. I will also give the NPC the actor component. I call him NPC. I'm giving him a different tag, like say enhanced input tag here. I don't set the bubble right now. Now in the dialog participants, I say the enhanced input anti-test, which is the player. If I now start the dialog, you see we have both participants here in the list, NPC and player. So the system knows based on the tags which actors are a part of this dialog started here. And this is everything you need to know about setting up the basic dialogues. You can now start adding more dialogues to your system, exploring the nodes. The next video will be about how to change the default widget, which is set up right here, and be part of the Dialog Backend content.